Most people spend their entire lives trying to fit into boxes built by others. They hide their true selves, silence their confidence, and trade authenticity for approval. But what if the very thing you're running from, your real self, is the key to your power, your success, and why our freedom? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear may finally give you the courage to stop pretending, to stop doubting, and to start living as the person you were created to be. Most people spend their entire lives chasing an image that was never truly theirs to begin with. From a young age, we are told who we should be, how we should behave, what is acceptable, and what will make us successful. Society teaches us to wear masks. Masks of confidence when we feel insecure, masks of agreement when our hearts scream no, masks of happiness when deep inside we feel broken. And for a time we convince ourselves that this act of pretending is what will earn us love, recognition, and respect. But here is the undeniable truth. Authenticity is power. Nothing in the world carries more weight, more influence, and more magnetism than a human being who has stripped away the mask and chosen to live boldly, unapologetically, and truthfully as themselves. Authenticity is not about being perfect. It is about being real. Too many people confuse perfection with worthiness. They believe that if they can appear flawless, they will finally be valued. But perfection is exhausting, and it is an illusion that no one can sustain. Being real, on the other hand, is liberating. It is about admitting your weaknesses without shame, owning your strengths without arrogance, and presenting yourself to the world without fear of judgment. When you stand in authenticity, you send out a silent but undeniable message. This is who I am, and I am enough. That message resonates deeply with others because, whether they admit it or not, everyone is longing for permission to do the same. Your authenticity gives others the courage to take off their masks too. The power of authenticity lies in alignment. When your actions, your words, and your inner beliefs line up, you create harmony within yourself. That harmony becomes confidence, and confidence becomes influence. Think about the people who inspire you most. They are not necessarily the wealthiest, the most polished, or the most educated. The ones who leave a mark on your soul are the ones who are unapologetically themselves. They are not afraid to stand apart, to be misunderstood, or even to be criticized, because their sense of self is not built on the shaky foundation of other people's approval. It is built on the solid ground of authenticity. And once you taste that kind of freedom, no amount of validation can compare. Living authentically requires courage, because it will not always earn you applause. In fact, the first test of authenticity is rejection. Some people will not like the real you. Some will misunderstand you, criticize you, or even walk away. But that is the price of freedom. You can spend your life adjusting yourself to be liked by everyone and end up respected by no one. Or you can stand firm in your truth and attract the people who are truly meant to be in your life. Authenticity filters out the wrong relationships and draws the right ones closer. It removes the shallow connections built on pretense and replaces them with bonds that are genuine, deep, and lasting. The strength of authenticity is not just emotional, it is also practical. Opportunities flow to those who are real. Why? Because authenticity creates trust, and trust is the foundation of influence. In business, in leadership, in friendships, and even in love, people are naturally drawn to those who radiate honesty and self-assurance. When you are authentic, people know what to expect from you. They know your yes means yes and your no means no. They know you are not playing games, not manipulating for acceptance, and not bending simply to please. This consistency makes you reliable, and reliability makes you powerful. People may admire talent, but they follow authenticity. Yet, many continue to hide. They hide because they believe being authentic will make them vulnerable, and they confuse vulnerability with weakness. But the truth is, vulnerability is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. When you are vulnerable, you are not pretending. You are not covering your flaws with filters or painting over your scars with false smiles. You are showing the world that you have walked through fire, that you have survived storms, and that you still stand tall. Vulnerability connects, and connection is power. No one connects to perfection. They connect to humanity. And authenticity is the highest expression of humanity. When you embrace authenticity, you stop competing with others because you finally understand that no one can compete with you at being you. You are not here to be a copy. You are here to be an original. The world does not need another imitation of someone else's greatness. It needs your unique voice, your unique perspective, your unique expression of life. That uniqueness is not a liability. It is your greatest asset. Every gift, every talent, every story, every scar you carry becomes a piece of the masterpiece that is you. And the moment you step fully into that masterpiece, your very presence begins to shift the atmosphere around you. Authenticity also frees you from the prison of comparison. Comparison is the thief of joy, and it is born from the lie that who you are is not enough. But when you are authentic, you no longer measure your worth against someone else's highlight reel. You no longer chase their version of success because you are too busy creating your own. You realize that your journey is not supposed to look like anyone else's. Your timing is your timing. Your story is your story. And when you accept that, peace floods your soul. That peace cannot be shaken by criticism, and it cannot be inflated by praise. It is a peace that comes only from authenticity, and it is a peace that empowers you to live with purpose, clarity, and strength. Confidence is something that many people chase, but few truly understand. Most assume that confidence is about volume, about speaking louder, walking taller, or appearing more powerful than everyone else in the room. They believe it is about charm, charisma, or the ability to impress. But real confidence has nothing to do with external performance. It is about internal alignment. Confidence is born when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are in harmony with your deepest values. When you are aligned with who you truly are and what you truly believe, you stop needing to pretend. You stop needing to prove. You stop needing to perform. You simply live in a state of congruence, and that congruence radiates a quiet, unshakable strength that no amount of external validation can give. Think about the times you have felt most insecure. Chances are, those moments were when you were out of alignment. Maybe you were saying yes when you wanted to say no. Maybe you were doing something that went against your principles. Maybe you were living in a way that contradicted the vision you held for yourself. That misalignment creates tension, and tension always produces insecurity. You feel the gap between who you are and who you are pretending to be, and that gap erodes confidence. No matter how polished you appear on the outside, if you are not aligned on the inside, you will always feel a sense of instability. But when alignment is present, insecurity dissolves. You can walk into any room, face any challenge, or stand in front of any crowd, because you know you are not acting. You are simply being. Alignment also creates clarity. When you live out of alignment, your energy is scattered. You say one thing, but you mean another. You promise one thing, but you deliver differently. You try to please everyone, and in the process, you lose yourself. This fragmentation confuses not only you, but also the people around you. They sense the inconsistency, and inconsistency kills trust. On the other hand, when you are aligned, everything about you points in the same direction. Your body language supports your words reflect your values, and your actions prove your commitment. This clarity inspires trust, and trust amplifies confidence. When you are clear about who you are and where you stand, you no longer waver under pressure. You no longer feel the need to explain or justify, because your life itself becomes the proof of your convictions. The beauty of confidence through alignment is that it does not depend on circumstances. Many people believe they will feel confident when they achieve a certain level of success, when they earn a certain income, or when they gain the approval of others. But external circumstances are unstable. They change, and with them, so does your confidence. That is why so many people live on an emotional roller coaster. They feel great when praised and crushed when criticized. But authentic confidence is not built on such fragile foundations. When you are aligned internally, you are steady regardless of what happens externally. Success does not inflate you, and failure does not destroy you, because your confidence is rooted in truth, not in perception. You do not need the world to tell you who you are, because you already know. Alignment also requires integrity. Integrity is not just about honesty with others. It is about honesty with yourself. Many people betray themselves daily in small ways, agreeing to things they don't believe in, staying silent when they should speak up, or tolerating situations that drain their soul. Every time you betray yourself, even in the smallest way, you chip away at your confidence. But every time you honor yourself, your confidence grows. Integrity is the soil in which confidence takes root. When your actions match your values, you build trust within yourself. That self-trust is the foundation of all true confidence. You know you can rely on yourself, and that inner reliability creates a strength that no one can take away. Consider how this plays out in leadership. A leader who is out of alignment may command authority through fear, but they will never inspire true loyalty. People may obey them, but they will not respect them. On the other hand, a leader who is aligned radiates authenticity. Their team knows that their words match their actions, that their promises match their delivery, and that their vision matches their behavior. This alignment builds confidence not only within the leader, but within everyone who follows them. Confidence is contagious, and when people see alignment, they mirror it. The same principle applies in relationships, business, and every other area of life. Alignment is the fuel that sustains trust, and trust is the atmosphere where confidence thrives. Another dimension of alignment is purpose. Many people lack confidence because they are drifting without direction. They chase trends, copy others, and try to mold themselves into whatever the world celebrates at the moment. But deep down, they feel hollow because they are not aligned with a greater purpose. Purpose provides alignment because it gives you a clear why behind everything you do. When you know why you are doing something, confidence flows naturally. You may not have all the answers, and you may not know every step ahead, but you know that your steps are guided by meaning. That sense of purpose anchors you, and anchored people cannot be easily shaken. Finally, alignment dismantles comparison. One of the biggest killers of confidence is looking at others and believing that they are ahead, better, or more deserving. But comparison only thrives in misalignment. When you are aligned, you no longer need to compete in someone else's lane. You understand that your journey, your gifts, your timing, and your calling are unique to you. That understanding removes the pressure to measure your progress against anyone else's. You can celebrate others without diminishing yourself, and you can pursue your path with peace instead of anxiety. Alignment allows you to walk in your lane with certainty, and that certainty becomes the very essence of confidence. One of the greatest fears that paralyzes human potential is the fear of rejection. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek approval, to crave acceptance, and to shape ourselves according to the expectations of others. We learn quickly that when we do what others like, we are rewarded with affection, praise, and belonging. But when we resist or stand apart, we are met with criticism, silence, or disapproval. Over time, this conditioning grows so strong that many people live their entire lives as prisoners of approval, terrified of being rejected. Yet the truth is unavoidable. Rejection is not only inevitable, it is necessary. It is not a sign that you are failing. It is proof that you are living authentically. And the moment you stop fearing rejection, you step into a freedom that most people will never taste. Rejection hurts because it touches the most vulnerable parts of us, the part of us that wants to belong, the part of us that wants to be loved, the part of us that longs to feel significant in the eyes of others. But if you look closer, you'll realize that rejection is not the enemy. Rejection is a filter. It separates the people who are drawn to your mask from the people who are drawn to your essence. When someone rejects you for being who you are, they are not taking away your worth. They are revealing their inability to value it. And while the sting of that moment feels sharp, it is actually a form of liberation. It saves you from living in a false bond and frees you to align with people, opportunities, and environments that truly resonate with your authenticity. The fear of rejection often drives people into compromise. They say yes when their heart screams no. They laugh at jokes they do not find funny. They join circles where they do not belong, just to avoid standing alone. But every compromise costs something. With each act of self-betrayal, you lose a piece of yourself. You trade authenticity for approval, freedom for conformity, and confidence for silence. And what do you gain? A fragile sense of belonging that can vanish the moment you slip out of character. This is why rejection must be embraced. It is better to be rejected for who you truly are than to be accepted for who you are not. Acceptance based on pretense is a cage, but rejection based on truth is the beginning of freedom. Rejection is also a teacher. Every no you receive, every door that closes, every person who walks away, teaches you resilience. It strips you of illusions and shows you the strength you carry within. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life are born out of rejection. Think of the artist whose work was dismissed until it changed culture, the entrepreneur whose ideas were laughed at until they disrupted industries, the individual who was overlooked until they built something undeniable. Rejection sharpened them. It forced them to grow stronger, to believe in themselves when no one else did, and to push forward with a fire that acceptance could never have ignited. If you let it, rejection can build in you a strength so unshakable that the approval of others becomes irrelevant. Freedom is not the absence of rejection, it is the mastery of it. When you reach a place where rejection no longer defines your worth, you become unstoppable. You stop living on the leash of other people's opinions. You stop editing yourself to fit into shrinking spaces. You stop chasing after those who do not see your value. Instead, you learn to walk away with peace, knowing that rejection is redirection. Every person who turns away, every opportunity that slips out of your hands is guiding you towards something that is truly meant for you. Rejection does not diminish you. It positions you. It points you toward alignment with your destiny, your calling, and your truth. It is important to understand that rejection is universal. No matter how talented, beautiful, intelligent, or successful you are, you will be rejected. Even the greatest leaders, artists, innovators, and visionaries in history were rejected by their peers, by society, or by their own families. Some of them were mocked, others ignored, and some even attacked. Yet their willingness to endure rejection is what gave them the power to change the world. They refused to silence their voices or shrink their presence just to be accepted. They chose freedom over approval, and in doing so, they left legacies that still inspire generations. Their example proves that rejection is not something to run from. It is something to embrace as evidence that you are living boldly. The paradox of rejection is that the more you try to avoid it, the more imprisoned you become. When your decisions are driven by the desire to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one, not even yourself. You lose your fire, your voice, and your uniqueness. But when you accept rejection as part of the journey, you gain power. You become free to take risks, to express your truth, to stand alone if necessary. That freedom attracts the right people into your life, the ones who love you not for the mask you wear, but for the person you truly are. Rejection, then, is not the end of belonging, but the gateway to deeper, truer belonging. There is also a hidden strength in becoming comfortable with rejection. It destroys the fear of failure. Many people never pursue their dreams because they are terrified of hearing no. They never share their ideas, never step into the spotlight, never try because they cannot bear the thought of rejection. But if you learn to see rejection not as an enemy, but as a companion of freedom, the fear loses its grip. You begin to act boldly, speak courageously, and pursue relentlessly, because you no longer view rejection as an ending, but as part of the process. You stop asking, "What if they reject me?" and start declaring, "If they do, I'll still be free." One of the deepest desires of the human heart is to feel seen, valued, and appreciated. From the time we are children, we learn to measure our worth by the reactions of others. When we bring home good grades, we crave the praise of parents and teachers. When we wear a new outfit, we wait for compliments from friends. When we post on social media, we refresh the page to count the likes. Somewhere along the way, we begin to believe that our value is determined by the applause of the crowd, that our identity is tied to how others perceive us. But this is a dangerous illusion. External validation is fleeting, fragile, and conditional. If you build your confidence on it, your self-worth will rise and fall with every opinion. The only way to live with stability and strength is to learn the art of self-validation, to decide for yourself that you are enough, to give yourself the approval you seek, and to stand firm in your worth regardless of who notices or who applauds. The problem with external validation is that it places your identity in the hands of others. It makes you a prisoner of perception. When people approve of you, you feel high. When they disapprove, you sink low. You become addicted to applause, constantly adjusting who you are to earn the cheers of the crowd. But crowds are fickle. Today, they celebrate you. Tomorrow, they may criticize you. Their opinions shift with trends, moods, and circumstances, and if you tether your self-worth to them, you will never find peace. Self-validation, on the other hand, is unshakable. It comes from within. It is the quiet but firm decision to recognize your own value, to stand in your own truth, and to affirm your own identity without waiting for anyone else to do it for you. When you practice self-validation, you release the need for constant reassurance. You no longer ask questions like, "Did I do good enough?" or "Do they like me?" because you already know that your worth does not depend on performance or popularity. You begin to celebrate your progress instead of waiting for others to notice it. You acknowledge your effort even when the outcome falls short. You give yourself credit for growth that no one else may see. And in doing so, you build resilience. Resilience is the strength to keep moving forward, to keep showing up, to keep creating, even when applause is absent. Those who rely only on external validation give up when the crowd is silent, but those who validate themselves keep going because their fuel is internal. Self-validation is not arrogance. It is not about ignoring feedback or refusing to learn from others. True self-validation is about knowing your worth before you walk into any room. It is about recognizing that feedback can refine you, but cannot define you. When someone criticizes you, you can listen without crumbling, because your value does not hang on their words. When someone praises you, you can receive it with gratitude, but not become enslaved to it, because you know you were valuable long before the compliment arrived. This balance creates stability. It allows you to remain grounded in a world that constantly tries to tell you who you should be, how you should act, and what you should pursue. External validation can be dangerous because it often pulls you out of alignment with yourself. To keep the approval of others, you may begin to betray your own values. You may suppress your voice, hide your truth, or compromise your standards. Slowly, you lose touch with who you really are, and even though you are surrounded by people, you feel empty inside. Self-validation saves you from this emptiness. It keeps you anchored to your true self. When you validate yourself, you no longer need to bend for approval, because you are already standing tall in your own acceptance. This freedom allows you to speak with clarity, act with integrity, and live with authenticity, because you are no longer performing, you are simply being. The greatest leaders, creators, and innovators in history were masters of self-validation. They were often rejected, misunderstood, or ignored by society, yet they refused to let the opinions of others define them. They saw value in their vision before anyone else did. They affirmed their own ideas when no one was clapping. They validated their own identity even when the world labeled them as failures. And because they chose self-validation over external validation, they kept going long enough for the world to catch up to their brilliance. Their example teaches us that external approval is never a reliable starting point for greatness. Greatness begins when you validate yourself. Another hidden power of self-validation is peace. External validation keeps you in a constant cycle of striving. You are always chasing, always proving, always performing. But when you validate yourself, you find rest. You no longer need to run after people to convince them of your worth. You no longer need to wear yourself out trying to meet impossible expectations. You can live with calm assurance, knowing that your value is not up for debate. This peace allows you to make bold choices without fear, to walk away from toxic situations without guilt, and to pursue your true calling without hesitation. It is the kind of peace that only comes when you stop outsourcing your worth and start owning it for yourself. Self-validation also breeds consistency. When you rely on external validation, your actions shift with the opinions of those around you. You change your style, your goals, your values, just to fit the moment. But when you validate yourself, you remain consistent because you are not living for applause. You are living for truth. Consistency builds trust, and trust builds influence. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect you because they know you are not swayed by every passing opinion. They know you are anchored, and that stability is rare in a world obsessed with approval. Confidence is often seen as something you must have before you take action, but in reality, confidence is built through the actions themselves. It is not something you wait for. It is something you create, and the way you create it is through courage. Courage is the bridge between fear and confidence. It is the willingness to act even when you are uncertain, even when you are trembling, even when your heart is pounding with doubt. Every courageous step you take, no matter how small, plants a seed of confidence inside you. Over time, those seeds grow into unshakable strength. People who appear confident did not wake up that way. They built it, moment by moment, by choosing courage over comfort. Courage is powerful because it does not require perfection. You do not need to know all the answers. You do not need to feel completely ready, and you do not need to have everything figured out. All courage demands is movement. It asks you to take the next step despite fear. That step might be speaking up in a room where you usually stay silent, trying something new when you would rather play it safe, or standing firm in your truth even when others might not agree. In those moments, courage whispers, "Do it anyway." And when you listen, you discover that fear begins to shrink. Each time you face what you once avoided, the impossible starts to feel possible, and what once terrified you becomes a source of strength. The relationship between courage and confidence is cyclical. Courage leads to action. Action creates results. Results build confidence, and confidence fuels more courage. This cycle is how ordinary people become extraordinary. Think about the first time someone speaks on a stage. Their voice may shake, their hands may sweat, and their legs may feel weak, but they find the courage to get through it. By the end, they realize they survived what they feared, and that survival creates confidence. The next time, the fear is still there, but it is smaller, and their confidence is stronger. After many repetitions, what once felt terrifying becomes natural. Without that first act of courage, the confidence would have never been born. One of the greatest lies people believe is that they must wait until they feel confident before pursuing their dreams. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect preparation, the perfect assurance that they cannot fail. But that moment never comes, because confidence is not the starting line. It is the finish line. Courage is the starting line. Those who achieve greatness are not those who had confidence at the beginning. They are those who had courage at the beginning. They dared to step out, to try, to risk embarrassment, to face failure, and in doing so, they built the confidence that others now admire. Courage also dismantles the grip of fear. Fear thrives in the shadows of inaction. The longer you avoid what scares you, the bigger it grows in your mind. But courage forces fear into the light. When you confront it, you realize that most of the things you dreaded were not as powerful as you imagined. Fear feeds on avoidance, but courage starves it. The more you practice courage, the less fear controls you. And the less fear controls you, the more confident you become. This is why people who live courageously are often the ones who radiate confidence effortlessly. They have simply faced fear so many times that it no longer has the same hold on them. Courage does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet and steady. It can be the courage to say no when you are pressured to say yes. It can be the courage to leave behind what is familiar and step into the unknown. It can be the courage to admit you don't know everything and ask for help. These small acts of courage are just as powerful as grand gestures because they build an internal track record. Each time you act with courage, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than you think. That proof accumulates into confidence, and confidence becomes the evidence you carry with you into every challenge. Another important truth is that courage is contagious. When you act courageously, you give permission to others to do the same. People watch how you face fear, and it inspires them to confront their own. A single act of courage can ripple outward, shifting atmospheres, encouraging teams, strengthening relationships, and sparking movements. And with every courageous act, your own confidence deepens because you see the impact of your bravery, not just on yourself, but on the people around you. Courage also refines character. It forces you to confront not only external challenges, but internal ones, your doubts, insecurities, and limiting beliefs. Each time you choose courage, you push against those limits. You expand what you thought was possible for yourself. And as your capacity grows, so does your confidence. Confidence is not arrogance. It is the quiet assurance that comes from proving to yourself, again and again, that you can overcome what once seemed impossible. Courage is the training ground where that assurance is built. Most importantly, courage connects you to purpose. Fear often tries to keep you from the very things you are called to do. It tries to silence your voice, dim your light, and keep you small. But when you act with courage, you reclaim your power. You step into alignment with who you are meant to be. That alignment creates authenticity, and authenticity creates confidence. Courage and purpose walk hand in hand, and confidence is the fruit of their union. There is something magnetic about a person who is unapologetically authentic. When you encounter someone who is completely themselves, unshaken by trends, untouched by the pressure to conform, and unafraid of standing apart, you cannot help but notice. Their presence feels refreshing in a world where so many are imitating, performing, and chasing approval. And that is why authenticity attracts opportunities. People, connections, and possibilities are drawn to the real, because authenticity radiates a kind of energy that cannot be manufactured. It is not polished perfection that opens the biggest doors in life. It is genuine authenticity. When you are authentic, you carry a natural confidence that makes others trust you. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful opportunity, whether in business, relationships, or personal growth. People may be impressed by talent, but they are moved by truth. They want to work with, partner with, and invest in those who are consistent and genuine. When your actions align with your words and your words align with your values, you create a reputation of reliability. This consistency draws opportunities because people know you are not playing a role or pretending to be someone you are not. They know what to expect from you, and that predictability becomes an advantage in a world filled with masks. Authenticity also amplifies visibility. In a crowded world where everyone is trying to stand out, many resort to gimmicks, exaggeration, or imitation. But these things quickly fade because they lack substance. Authenticity, however, naturally sets you apart. There is no competition for your uniqueness because no one else can replicate it. When you show up fully as yourself, you stop blending into the noise and start shining with a light that is distinctively yours. That light acts like a signal, attracting the right people, the right rooms, and the right opportunities. The world is not starving for more perfection. It is starving for more realness. The more real you are, the more your presence becomes noticeable, and the more doors open that imitation could never unlock. Opportunities are not only about what comes to you, but also about what you are prepared to recognize and step into. Authenticity sharpens that awareness. When you are authentic, you are clear on what you want, what you believe, and what aligns with your vision. This clarity allows you to recognize opportunities that are truly for you and to reject those that would pull you out of alignment. Many people miss their moment, not because opportunities were absent, but because they were so busy pretending that they did not recognize the ones meant for their true selves. Authenticity prevents this mistake by aligning you with your purpose, and when you are aligned, the right opportunities feel natural. They fit, they flow, and they expand your potential instead of draining your energy. Authenticity also builds influence. Influence is not about how many people know your name. It is about how deeply people trust your voice. When you are authentic, people resonate with your story, your struggles, and your truth. They see themselves in you, and that connection creates loyalty. This loyalty is what transforms simple interactions into opportunities. Someone who feels genuinely connected to you is more likely to recommend you, to open a door for you, or to bring you into circles you could not have entered alone. Authenticity creates a ripple effect. The more real you are, the more people feel safe to support you, and the more opportunities emerge through those connections. It is also worth noting that authenticity saves you from wasted opportunities. Not every open door is the right door, and not every invitation is worth accepting. When you live inauthentically, you may attract opportunities that are misaligned with your values. These opportunities may look good from the outside, but they drain you internally because they demand that you keep pretending. Authenticity protects you by filtering out the wrong doors. You attract the opportunities that resonate with your true self, which means when you step through them, you thrive instead of just surviving. The opportunities that come from authenticity not only elevate your life, but also sustain you, because they are built on truth, not performance. Authenticity also strengthens resilience when opportunities do not come immediately. Many people compromise their authenticity in impatience, believing that pretending will get them ahead faster. And sometimes it does, temporarily. But those gains are short-lived because they rest on shaky foundations. When you remain authentic, even during seasons of waiting, you build character, and that character ensures that when opportunities arrive, you can handle them. The world is full of stories of people who gained opportunities too soon and collapsed under the weight of them because they were not authentic. True authenticity ensures that when doors open, you not only walk through them, but stay inside them with strength, because you are not carrying the burden of pretense. In relationships and networks, authenticity is the greatest connector. People can sense when you are being fake, even if they cannot explain why. There is something in authenticity that creates distance, but authenticity creates closeness. It invites trust, vulnerability, and mutual respect. And these are the very qualities that form the foundation of the greatest opportunities in life. A genuine connection can create more possibilities than years of chasing after people with a mask. One authentic relationship can change your entire trajectory. The key is that authenticity not only attracts opportunities, it attracts the right ones, the ones that multiply your growth and align with your destiny. Authenticity is not easy because it often requires rejecting the safety of conformity. It may mean standing alone, being misunderstood, or facing rejection. But in the long run, it pays in ways that pretending never will. Every opportunity gained through inauthenticity comes with the hidden cost of maintaining the act, while every opportunity gained through authenticity comes with the freedom to simply be. That freedom gives you energy, creativity, and peace, which in turn allow you to maximize the opportunities you are given. Far too many people live their lives shrinking themselves to fit the comfort of others. They hide their talents, mute their voices, and soften their brilliance because they are afraid of standing out. Somewhere along the way, they were told not to be too much, not to take up too much space, not to dream too big. They learned to dim their light because shining seemed to make others uncomfortable, but shrinking serves no one. It does not make the world better. It does not bring you peace, and it does not fulfill your purpose. You were not created to blend into the background. You were created to shine, and every time you shrink, you rob the world of the very gift that only you can give. Shrinking feels safe because it avoids attention. When you play small, no one criticizes you. No one judges you. No one rejects you because no one notices you. But safety comes at a price, and the price is your destiny. When you silence your own greatness, you silence your potential. You may escape the sting of rejection, but you also escape the joy of contribution. You may avoid the pain of criticism, but you also avoid the power of influence. Playing small might protect you from discomfort, but it also locks you in a cage where your spirit withers. You were designed to live fully, not cautiously. Shining, on the other hand, is risky because it exposes you. When you step forward, when you show your gifts, when you dare to speak your truth, you invite attention. Some will celebrate you, but others will criticize you. Some will admire you, but others will envy you. Shining will not make everyone comfortable, but it will make you alive. And the ones who are meant to walk with you will find you because of your light, not because of your silence. The right people, the right opportunities, and the right environments are always drawn to brightness, never to shrinking. The world does not benefit from your fear. It benefits from your courage. Think of the people who have inspired you the most. They were not the ones who played small to fit in. They were the ones who stood tall despite opposition. They were the ones who shared their gifts even when others doubted them. The ones who let their light shine even when others tried to dim it. Their courage created space for you to believe in yourself, and now your courage can do the same for someone else. Every time you shine, you give others permission to shine too. Your bravery becomes a signal of hope to those who are still hiding. Shrinking often comes from the lies of comparison. You look at others and believe that your gift is smaller, your talent is weaker, your story is less significant. You convince yourself that what you carry is not enough. But comparison blinds you to the truth. No one else can do what you can do in the way you can do it. Your uniqueness is not a weakness. It is your power. There may be many voices in the world, but none can carry your tone. There may be many gifts in the world, but none can carry your expression. To shrink in the face of others' greatness is to misunderstand your own. You were never meant to compete. You were meant to contribute. And contribution only happens when you stop hiding. Shining requires boldness, but it also requires authenticity. You do not shine by trying to imitate someone else's light. You shine by being fully yourself. The sun does not apologize for being brighter than the moon, and the moon does not apologize for reflecting light in its own way. Both serve their purpose, both light the world, and neither shrinks in comparison to the other. You too must understand that your shine does not need to look like anyone else's. It is not about being the loudest, the flashiest, or the most recognized. It is about being unapologetically true to who you are and refusing to dim that truth to make others more comfortable. When you stop shrinking, you reclaim your power. Power over fear, power over doubt, power over the voices that told you to stay small. Every time you choose to show up fully, you strengthen your confidence. Every time you refuse to dim your light, you expand your influence. And every time you step into the fullness of your identity, you take another step toward your destiny. This process is not easy, but it is necessary. The more you shine, the more your life aligns with purpose, and the more impact you create. The tragedy of shrinking is that it leaves potential unused. Imagine all the ideas that never became inventions, the songs that were never sung, the books that were never written, the businesses that were never built, all because someone decided to shrink. They let fear silence them, and the world was robbed of their contribution. But when you shine, you refuse to waste your potential. You put your gifts on the table, you share your vision, you express your creativity, and in doing so, you change lives. You never know who is waiting for your light to guide them. You never know how your courage might spark courage in someone else. Shrinking hides that possibility, but shining multiplies it. There is freedom in shining because you no longer carry the weight of pretense. Shrinking requires constant adjustment. You measure your words, calculate your steps, and hide your true self. But shining is liberating. It allows you to be seen as you are, without disguise. That freedom creates joy, and joy is contagious. People are drawn to those who radiate authenticity, energy, and light. They are drawn to those who are unafraid to stand in their power. When you shine, you not only elevate your own life, you elevate the atmosphere around you.